nerdlocker.com here with this week's comic book reviews. I'm starting off with Batman Eternal, number 14. This issue is awesome. A lot of stuff happens in this issue. Lieutenant Bard is totally making a play for just everyone in Gotham. He's trying to end everything right now, trying to end the gang war, get everyone back on track, end the corruption of the whole city. We get to see James Gordon, Commissioner Gordon, kind of do the last issue with his son, telling him his door will open and he'll be able to leave prison and go on the run and all that. Gets to the outcome of that, and it's pretty cool because Batman shows up, of course, and Lieutenant Bard does his stuff, but there's kind of a twist to it that Batman is not okay with, and I saw something like this coming with this character. I like him, and this is the one sense where I have to disagree with Batman. There's a couple times throughout his history where it's like, man, you need to bend a little bit. But no, not so much. It looks like he's still got his own plans for everything. We also kind of shift the focus back to Arkham Asylum about what's going on there and who is behind it, which is really cool. And we're only 14 issues in, so it seems like kind of early to end this gang war and all this stuff going on. So I feel like there's a lot in store, but this is a really big issue. A lot of big things happen, and the artwork's amazing. There's a couple panels with the Penguin that are just outstanding. So I suggest picking this up. I'm giving it 4 out of 5 Nerd Skulls. Let me know what you guys thought.
All right, guys, coming here with my reviews for this week. I got to do Avengers number 32, another Original Sin tie-in this month. Holy balls. So we've been doing with the Avengers is we've been time traveling at intervals into the future. Time gems all cracked up and yada, yada, yada. Story's actually been really interesting to see like who makes it through, kind of what happens, the repercussions that Captain America, the main thing this issue deals with is like the repercussions of Captain America's actions, which he's like really hell-bent on doing what he believes is right, but it almost feels like, yeah, everything's gonna be fine, but like certain people are trying to tell him like, hey man, you should probably like chill the hell out and stop being such a religious zealot about all this stuff. But either way, it's really, really sweet, like artwork, storytelling, like overall, like the way they show everything, the way everything is really like done up. I love Lionel Francis Yu doing future sci-fi things, like people in like suits and performing things in outer space and all the battle suits. They look like mini Gundams and stuff. But like, it's just a really cool way of showing the future in terms of what it could be in the Marvel Universe, the way they kind of break away from certain aspects of life and like how it's just a really cool view of what could happen. And the character that's driving the story along and telling you what's going on within this world and trying to get the point across to Captain America came out of nowhere for me. It was like, oh, sweet, I love this guy. I love when he's old too, because he's a little kid. And there's another character within the whole thing that you don't realize who it is. And it's really interesting to, like, I wish we can go into how it got like that further and how we can like read something like going on in that era. But it's just a glimpse to make it awesome. So I'm going to give this overall, because of that and just the way the story is pushing, I'm going to give it 5 out of 5 Nerd Skulls. Avengers is still like the best book next to Uncanny Avengers, but still, it's really awesome. Check it out.
The Spread #1 comes out this week, which is the new Justin Jordan comic with new teammate Carl Strom. The book follows our main character, who I can't remember his name right now, but he looks a lot like Wolverine, who's gone a little Super Saiyan, which is awesome. He kicks a lot of ass, but in this post-apocalyptic world, this ancient evil has been resurrected, and now it goes across the planet, killing everything in sight. This book was absolutely awesome. If you don't remember Luther Strode being as great as it was, you should go back and read that book, because Justin Jordan kicked ass on that book. You're going to want to read this one. I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 Nerd Skulls because it was that good, and you should read it because because I just said so. Check it out.
Hey there, nerds. Jim here with my comic book reviews this week, and first up, I have Armor Hunters #2. I really wasn't all that thrilled with the first one. They're getting us into the story, but once we crossed over and started getting into this with Unity, really a big fan, and I like how Unity sort of told a little more of the backstory and didn't ruin Armor Hunters getting into #2. I was a little leery of where they were going to go with that. So back to the Armor Hunters. They've destroyed Mexico City. That was in the last issue, and we're sort of dealing with the repercussions of that destruction. And the U.S. military seeing, oh my God, they have a weapon that we have no clue how to stop. It's obviously very destructive. What are we going to do? We don't want to give up Eric and the armor because that only means these aliens who are coming to attack us now will have more powerful things. And it's very interesting to see the armor hunter's point of view in that they're just trying to save our planet. Well, not necessarily save our planet. They're trying to stop the spread of this armor so that it doesn't destroy further planets. And so they see themselves as the good guys. And it's interesting to see that because clearly they don't mind destroying a planet to save the system. But obviously it's our planet, so we're a little possessive of that. We don't like that. It's interesting to see because we have Amalgam, the other dude with the armor who's half armored and it's old. We learn more about what the armor does, how it works, and why the armor hunters want it. Now, I never read X-O Manowar back in the day in the 90s, so I don't know if this is the same thing. I don't know if Robert Venditti, who's currently writing it, has changed that or retconned it. But man, it is really, really interesting. I really like it. We've seen sort of touches of this in other very popular comic book characters from Marvel. I don't want to give it away, but it's very interesting, and I'm very curious to see where this goes. Bloodshot and Ninjak are in it, which I love. Love those characters. Can't wait to see how they're going to get more involved. I highly recommend this book. I think it's really fun. I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 Nerd Skulls.
Hey fellow nerds, Jasper here, and I just got done reading Spider-Man 2099. This is not actually taking place in 2099, as we all know from the previous issues and all the other comics. Miguel O'Hara is stuck in present day, and it pretty much goes into the fact that he's stuck there after he saved his grandfather. So he is now working for Alchemax, his father's own company, trying to figure his way through his dilemma. What's interesting about the issue is that there is this super being cyborg type character who's destroying everything in its path. You don't know why, you don't necessarily get what his deal is until midway through the comic, where he has his showdown with Spider-Man. It's pretty fun due to the fact that you have all these crazy explosions and dilemma and destruction just from this character trying to kill Spider-Man. And even though at the very end was kind of delayed or more boring because you don't necessarily get what can come forth from it, it's pretty good introduction. So I'm giving it a 3 out of 5 Nerd Skulls. Definitely check it out.
All right, guys, I got to read Constantine, number 16. And this issue has werewolves. So right then and there, what more do you want in an issue? I actually love this book a lot. I really like Constantine as a character, and I really think he's transitioned over to the DC Universe very well. I know the Hellblazer stuff was a little darker, obviously, but I think they're doing a good job staying true to the character and just bringing him in to the DC Universe. He's still dealing with his whole cult of the Cold Flame, how he's sort of connected to it, and some big things happen towards the end of this issue that obviously are going to lead to some other things. But honestly, I've really enjoyed this book. I think it's outstanding. I suggest you guys pick it up. I'm giving this 4 out of 5 Nerd Skulls.
All right, guys, so I also got to read Suicide Squad number 1 this week. It's restarting, kind of adding some new players to the team, Deathstroke and Joker's daughter, namely. And it's actually pretty cool. I'm not a big Suicide Squad person, but I actually kind of enjoy a lot Deathstroke. I think he's really cool, but I wasn't really too excited with what they've been doing in the New 52. So I kind of wanted to check it out, and it's just everyone's a dick to each other. That's pretty much what's going on in the Suicide Squad. But it's exactly what I expected because they're all dicks anyways. But it's pretty sweet, just the internal cat fighting and, oh my God, we're gonna do this. And then ends like, oh, you think everything's gonna go to plan. But of course it doesn't. And Russia's answer to like self-defense is totally shows up the Red Stars. It was pretty sweet. I am excited to see where this goes. It didn't completely blow me away. There was a couple of things where it was just like cheesy Expendables talk. But other than that, it was actually really, really sweet. So I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 Nerd Skulls.
So next up I have The Terminator, Enemy of My Enemy, number 4 out of 6. I was really nervous when I first got this pitch because it was basically revisiting the original timeline in a different way. And it's like, okay, well, we already had the Kyle Reese, Sarah Connors. I don't know why we're going back to this time. But Dan Jolly has just knocked it out of the park with some of these twists. And they're not like real dumb M. Night Shyamalama Ding Dong twists. They're small twists that you're like, oh, I didn't even see that coming. That was a great perspective change. I love it. And I really love his writing for that. In this one, we still have Pharaoh and the T-800 going after Dr. Fong. They attack the mercenary compound. And it's very interesting because they made the pact that they're going to work together, and they talk a little bit about, well, what happens when we get Dr. Fong? And it's interesting because there's this mentality that's robotic that, well, I will defeat you. And there's the other one that's human pride. No, you're not. I'm going to get you. And it's just really interesting to see this play. And then at the compound, Pharaoh gets some of her answers because they see some of the, I guess, early incarnations of the robots, the androids, the Terminators lined up. And it's really interesting. I really liked where this story's going. I can't recommend it enough. If you haven't started this, pick it up or wait for the trade. It's fantastic. 5 out of 5 Nerd Skulls.
All right, I got to read All New X-Men number 29, the next issue in Bendis' X-Men run, which actually hasn't been disappointing. He's done a lot of good things here. And we get to see the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. They're back, and they're messing with the X-Men, and you actually find out a huge revelation in this issue of why they're doing what they're doing from the future into the past. Who's behind it all? It's also cool. Now we know that Reyes and young Charles Xavier are both brothers from Mystique, which is crazy because that means a lot of people were getting busy with Mystique, like Wolverine and Professor X. But anyways. You find out the whole reasoning behind what they're doing and who's in charge of it. And it's kind of funny because they keep calling him Baby Charles Xavier, which is like adorable and I can assume very demeaning if you're him. But this issue's action-packed. I love what he's doing. This is one of the things that I was not sold on bringing the original X-Men team to our time. And it's slowly kind of just breaking into a bunch of different pieces. I mean, Scott's in space. Jean has powers we've never seen before. But it's interesting, and I do want to, I mean, he did such a good job with Avengers. I'm sure he's got a crazy end game with his X-Men stuff. I can't wait to read it. I'm giving this issue 5 out of 5 Nerd Skulls. Let me know what you guys thought.
All right, guys, so I got to read Original Sin 5.1, but it's the Thor and Loki 10th Realm story. And holy balls. I did not expect it to be as interesting as it was. Essentially, it picks up right after Original Sin, I believe 2 or 3, wherever the bomb goes off, and everyone kind of figures out what the hell's going on. Thor realizes, oh my god, I have a sister, and there's something they're not telling me. Ugh, he gets all pissed off and flies to Asgard. And it's just him talking to Freya the whole time, and her giving him the rundown. And we kind of find out that like some crazy stuff went down. There was some intense battles back in the beginning of time, essentially, and we're still kind of shrouded, but old Loki's up to something, and then young Loki just wants to prove himself to be a cool dude. So I really like that dynamic between the characters. Like, one of them is pretty much saying, like, no matter what you do, you're going to be a douche, and then the other is fighting so hard, the younger version is fighting so hard to actually be a good dude that I want to see if they're just messing with people, because that's what it seems like. Like, he could still be a good guy, but this other one's like a weird Loki from somewhere else. So either way, I'm excited to see where they bring Angela into it, how they explain that a little more, how they go into that further. But so far, it's just shrouded in mystery and awesome battles, and I'm excited for that. It's totally fine. I'm going to give this 4 out of 5 Nerd Skulls, and you guys should totally check this out.
So finally, I got to read Terminator Salvation, The Final Battle. I will say this, and this is number 7. I will say this about Dark Horse. I'm super disappointed. Why are you putting 2 Terminators in the same week? Spread them out, please, so I can get my Terminator fix spread across more time. Anywho, really love what J. Michael Straczynski is doing with this story. Last issue, we left off with John Connor has no idea what the future is going to be because he sent off Kyle Reese to save everybody in the past, and that's all he knew. That's it. So now we're living the unknown, and it's very cool because Thomas Parnell is still wreaking havoc with Skynet, and Dr. Kogan has to make a deal with Skynet to essentially shut Thomas Parnell down, and there's Terminator fighting Terminator. It's not working, so who do they bring in? Marcus Wright. This is why I loved Salvation. I love the movie. I don't think he got enough credit. Marcus Wright was a great character working with John Connor. I loved the twist that we knew, but he was a prisoner on death sentence who was going to be saved by Dr. Kogan herself. We find out that he was just a test subject, and the real one that they wanted, Skynet, was Thomas Parnell. Well, he comes back, and it's a great explanation how he's back. I love it. No problems with it at all. He approaches John Connor with a new deal. Very cool, because they also bring Kate back, who's John Connor's wife, whatever, and she talks to him about, well, what are you going to do? We don't know. Don't know. Great twist. Love the writing. Highly recommend it. We're past the halfway point, and I have no idea how this is going to end up. That's why I love the writing. Got to check it out. 5 out of 5 Nerd Skulls.
All right, nerds, it is here. Grayson, #1 is out. Dick Grayson is no longer Batman or Nightwing or Robin. He's his own person, an agent of Spiral. And I will say this issue is action-packed. We get to see a guest spot from a superhero that I wasn't sure we were going to see around anymore because the series got canceled. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but it was really cool seeing this person in here. I hope we get to see more of this kind of side of the DC universe, the kind of off-the-grid type heroes. It's really cool. It is really, really cool, and I'm so happy I got to read it. They're doing awesome stuff. As we know, Dick Grayson is now working for Spiral undercover for Batman to try to take it down. And I just feel that's going to lead to a lot of complications and a lot of good storytelling. And honestly, after this first issue, I'm sold on the series. I can't wait to see more of it. I do miss him as Nightwing, and I'm sure we will see him as Nightwing again one day. Right now, I'm going to enjoy this ride that is Grayson, giving this 5 out of 5 Nerd Skulls. Let me know what you guys thought.
All right, guys, so I also got to read Star Wars #19 this week. And like I said before, this is one of my favorite series because it gives you more insight onto these characters that you kind of grow up with, you know a lot about, you feel you know a lot about, but you really only see like certain aspects of their character, their personality, yada, 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 in so many movies. And what's cool with this is it's taking those same, like that same feel of the original trilogy and what's going on, and it kind of expanding on it. You get to see more characters. You get to see an IG assassin, which was pretty sweet in this issue. But one thing that really stood out to me was that you see Princess Leia actually really trying really hard to save her friend who was like her childhood friend, which is something you don't really know too much about Leia's childhood in general. So it's pretty sweet to see that. I hope they expand on it a little more. There is one more issue, I believe, of this story arc, and I hope not this comic book, but I know it's probably going to end soon, and that makes me really sad because this is like the best book. But either way, Star Wars #19, ramping up the action, and I'm going to give it 5 out of 5 Nerd Skulls because it was sweet.